come, O ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye, oh, come ye to Bethlehem. Yo, that is my jam. Seriously, I just had to start off with that 'cause I am just in the Christmas spirit. I'm telling you, oh my God, that song just takes me back to my childhood, watching various Christmas movies, Scrooge and everything else, and just really wishing when I was a kid that I could go out Christmas caroling. Did anybody else ever want to do that? I know that's probably corny, but Christmas caroling, it just was just such a beautiful thing. And it wasn't prevalent back then. It sure isn't prevalent now. You try to go to someone's door singing with candles and a flock of people, they might come to you with a gun or a pistol. So I wouldn't recommend it, but I just wish that we lived in a time where we could do that. So anyway, I know this is my NFL vlog. I just had to share that with you. I was feeling it, so I just had to share it with you. No, I was missing last week. I had some technical difficulties with the computer, with the laptop, so my apologies for that. But there's been a lot of good stuff, or good and crazy stuff, going on in the league this past week. So we have a lot to cover. Two head coaches, the Miami Dolphins coach and the Kansas City Chiefs coach, were both let go this past week. And this bizarre drug case with the Chicago Bears former wide receiver Sam Hurd, who they recently waived as a result of him being arrested. But I am so confused. I mean, what person, first of all, selling drugs, I don't care how much you make. I don't care if you're a homeless man on the street. It's just an endangerment to society as well as to yourself, and it does no one any good. But when you have been blessed to make at least 6 or 7 figures, and you pretty much abuse that type of power you have, I just don't understand. And whose right mind would ever do something like that? And granted, I know the case is there's still an ongoing investigation. Facts are still just coming out about it, so I don't want to be quick to judge. I'm hoping that this is a big mistake because it's just very bizarre and confusing. But if the allegations are true, it's just really sad. It's a very sad situation. On to the 3 games that were played this week. We actually had a Saturday night game. The Cowboys trumped the Bucks. It was ridiculous, 41 to 15 or 31 to 15. I'm sorry, which means that they're still in the hunt for a playoff spot. So they're still, fighting for that spot. And the Falcons beat the Jags 41 to 14. Seahawks beat the Rams 30 to 13. Now, this week I have my top 5 games, which I think are probably the best games going on this week. It's very interesting, the NFL this year. You have the haves and the have-nots. Either the team is doing exceptionally well with a 10-3 record, or even, an 8-5 record, which is pretty good because some of those teams are still in the hunt for the playoff, or you have a 2-10 record, which is crazy. So, let me start with the Ravens against the Chargers and my thoughts on that game, which is actually tonight's Sunday night game. If Ray Rice gets the touches that he needs, let's say 30 touches, on the ball, and he's able to run the ball well, I definitely think that the Ravens will pull this one off. Of course, Ray Lewis always has a way of pumping them up. He's just an amazing guy to have on a team, as far as getting you energized and getting you ready for the game. And the Chargers just haven't been the same team that we've known them to be in the past year. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with the Ravens, who have been very consistent this year with a 10-3 record, right behind the Pittsburgh Steelers. Actually, they're leading the Pittsburgh Steelers in the division, excuse me. I'm going to go with them to beat the Chargers tonight, at 8 o'clock. Score, let's say, I've been so off on my scores, but I'm going to go ahead and say that the Ravens will win 27, Chargers 18. My next game, the Jets versus the Eagles. Now, you guys know, as a media freelance journalist, I'm supposed to be unbiased, but the Eagles, have always been my home team. That's my team that I've always rooted for and that I still root for despite the horrible season that they've had. And the Jets are kind of the backup team. You know, I said when the Eagles don't win, I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Jets. It's funny that they're playing today. It's even more funnier that I predict the Eagles to win, and I'll tell you why. With Michael Vick back in the lineup again, last week they beat Miami. I just think that if nothing else, they have to prove that they can finish strong. An 8-8 season, obviously, is does not equate to the expectations that we all had for them this year. But if they can at least finish the season with an 8-8 record, leave with their heads held high, and prepare the offseason, come back stronger next season, I think that that will be sufficient enough for them to at least feel some sort of way about the dismal season that they've had. With the Jets, Mark Sanchez, he's iffy. He's just not that dependable quarterback. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the Eagles have something to prove. Even though they're out of the playoff hunt, they have something to prove, and they're going to beat the Jets. I'm going to go with them 24-21. Next game, Lions versus the Raiders. Now, with Sue back in the lineup, you've got here the two most penalized teams in the league. So, who's going to get ejected today? This is going to be a fun game to watch. But with Sue back up in the lineup and the Raiders defense struggling as of late, and Carson Palmer not being the mobile quarterback that he needs to be to get past the Lions defense, I'm going to go ahead and say that the Lions are going to win this game. I did not write a score for them, but I will say that they'll win, let's see, 25-18. Okay? Next game, Redskins versus the Giants. After the Giants' stellar performance last week against the Cowboys, it appears that they are on a roll, even though they have some of their prominent defensive players out. Osi Umenyiora won't be playing today, and neither will Justin Tuck. I think Ahmad Bradshaw will be able to run through the Redskins defense and secure a victory, as well as, of course, their phenomenal quarterback. And I've never said that about Eli Manning, but he's been playing exceptionally well. Obviously, filling in for his big brother who's been out all season. So, with Eli passing and Ahmad running, I think the Giants have a victory against the Redskins, and I'm going to say that they'll win 41-20. The big game that I'm looking forward to, Monday night's game, the Steelers versus the 49ers. They both have a 10-3 record, and this could even possibly be a Super Bowl matchup. It really could be. So we may be getting a pre-screening, if you will. They're the top two NFL's best defensive teams in the league right now. So that's exciting in itself. But Ben Roethlisberger is coming off of a high sprained ankle, so I don't know. He may be a little iffy. He was listed as questionable the last time I checked, and Harrison is out on a one-game suspension. So that's a whole nother crazy story in itself. I mean, this guy's a baller. We know he plays hard, but the helmet-to-helmet hits and the roughness, he's got to curb it. He really has to. In addition, the comments and the remarks that he's made about the commissioner. No go. I say, Harrison, zip it, sit down, and play clean. I think people are getting a little sick of his antics. Anyway, back to the game. This is just a must-see. We'll have to see how Alex Smith does, too, against the zone blitz. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and go with the Steelers. They're tried, true, and tested. The 49ers are just kind of making their way back into, one of the NFL's elite teams. They've been gone for years. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the blue-collared, get it done Steelers. But this game is going to be close. They won't win by much. I'm going to give them the edge by 1 point. Let's say 17-16 Steelers. And in closing, I wanted to talk to you guys again about Tebow. I know he's been the center of attention for everybody. Every sports channel from ESPN to Fox Sports, NFL Network, people are commenting on him. And he has a ton of naysayers. And I gotta tell you, it's amazing to me how we live in a society where it's more acceptable People are more willing to give the thumbs up and a nod to the Kardashians, for all their foolery, to people who don't even acknowledge God and what he can do. And I've got to say, he truly is a man of God. And when you have faith in God, anything is possible. Anything can happen. And he's showing us right before our eyes. And people still don't get it. He was actually advised by Kurt Warner, who, if you guys know his history, he's a man of God himself, and he has spoken very openly about his beliefs, to curb it. How do you not speak about him? That's what you're taught, to preach the word, to speak about him. He's real, he's true. And I'm not saying that God is winning all the games for the Broncos, but what I'm saying is when you believe and you have that type of faith, any and everything is possible. So I hope that for the naysayers, the people who truly don't believe, I just hope that they get it, because God is using him in the best way that he can. He's given him a platform in front of the entire world to speak the truths, to speak the word, and to show people, and he is. He's a living example. And I tell you what, I'm behind him. Whether he can pass, whether he can run, whether he's, just this horrible quarterback who has no sort of mechanics, he can't read plays, he's winning football games. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So I say props to you, Tebow, for being open, being able to verbalize, and being able to go against what everyone else is not believing in. It's awesome. You're such an inspiration to children, um, and it's more people like you that we need to be watching on TV. So I'm all the way behind them. Guys, that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed my predictions. Please feel free to make comments, respond. I'll hopefully be back next week as long as there are no technical difficulties. I think we've got that squared away. But it's been real. One love. Merry Christmas. And oh yeah, I'll be back next Christmas. So hopefully you'll watch my blog on Christmas Day. One love. It's your girl Cajunese signing out. Take care and enjoy your football.